So I don't know how you're feeling about it. Perhaps you're nervous. Perhaps you feel that there is something to the fact that Manchester United fans are so incredibly confident at the moment. Of course, they did beat Manchester City last week, and rather convincingly. But then we managed to beat Inter Milan. So I think hopefully that balances itself out. But I want to take a not frantic, not chest beating, just interested look ahead to tomorrow, because this isn't just about rivalry. This obviously is a rivalry that goes back to the Wenger, Fergie days and probably before. Although I don't really remember it that much until, that sort of when Wenger took over, and then us beating them to it in 97, 98. Mark Overmars scoring at Old Trafford, a 10-game winning streak that saw them throw away a 12-point lead at the top, which is another thing that we have to talk about. Look, this isn't going to be one of those title contender sort of situations. This is very much not going to be the season that Man United win the league, and everyone knows that. But they've done really well, and with Michael Carrick, is this the start of a new thing? I mean, will he get the job permanently after that result against City? There's already talk of it. But this isn't just about rivalry. It's about where both clubs actually are right now in the season. So Arsenal are in control of the season. Manchester United are still trying to work out who they are. And I want to take a look and calmly at the likely lineup to shapes, the key battles that are going to decide this game. And then I'm going to give you a prediction. I'm going to ask you for yours. And we can sort of have a conversation around it there. But let's start with Arsenal, because Mikel Arteta is still a hugely divisive figure. Surprisingly decisive. I think if you didn't know very much about football, you just landed on this planet, and you'd be surprised that a team that has a perfect record in the top tier European competition, a team that's 7 points clear at the top of the table, you'd be surprised their manager gets as much stick as he does. But that's just the nature of things. I do wonder if we did do the quad this season, do you think that some of the Arteta outers would... I want to hear from you. If you are somebody who naturally feels Arteta out, would you change your mind if you won a quad? Is that what it's going to take? Or is he going to have to win back-to-back leagues for the first time since the 30s? If we do go on to win the Premier League, I've said this a few times now, if we go on to win the Premier League, he will be only the third manager in my lifetime to do that. So I'm reserving any full judgment until the end of this season. I think we all should. But whether you love Arteta or you hate him, or you're like many of us in between where you don't really have a strong opinion yet, I think you can agree, we can all agree that he is remarkably consistent. So we know that Arsenal are almost certainly going to line up in a 4-3-3, and it'll become a 3-2-5 in possession. And the likeliest lineup, of course, will have David Raya in goal. We expect Saliba and Gabriel both fit to form that incredible centre-back partnership. But then there are some options. Now, I don't know how true it is. I don't want to raise my hopes, but I have heard, I'm sure we all have, that Arsenal are the first fully fit squad of the season, which would be incredible. And we're going to need it for the run-in. And especially at a time where you've got Pep Guardiola saying, give me back my 11 players. Oh, just as an aside, if Pep Guardiola is going to complain about injuries, he probably shouldn't have said at the start of the season he wants a really small squad, because this is part of what you get. But I digress. If the squad is fully fit, it still doesn't mean that everybody's match fit. I am predicting this lineup based more on probably what I would do than necessarily what Mikel Arteta will do. He is consistent, but he does often surprise us. So David Raya in goal, Saliba and Gabriel as a back two. But I'm almost certain he's going to start Ben White at right back. Big reason for that is that Ben White whipping in crosses is far better suited to Gyökeres's game than us having Timber there, who's more inverted. And then I think Timber, so Ben White on the right, Jurriën Timber on the left. Although I am going to talk about this a little bit, because Jurriën Timber, I think he needs a rest. He hasn't had a very good game for a little while, and he hasn't played that well on the left either. So it is a toss-up between Miles Lewis-Skelly and Jurriën Timber. Calafiori is apparently back training and could be fit, but does it seem a bit soon? The midfield, look, you don't have to be a soothsayer to work out that he's going to almost certainly play Zubimendi, Odegaard and Rice. And then up front, Saka on the right, Trossard on the left, I would say, instead of Martinelli. I think, if I'm right, this game opens up in the second half and Martinelli running into space is more likely, especially if we've got a goal lead. And Gyökeres through the middle, not Jesus. They're my predictions. Now, the important thing here isn't the names, it's the kind of relationships. Rice and Zubimendi give Arsenal control. Odegaard is responsible for the rhythm. And what that means is Arsenal don't need to rush games anymore. We kind of own them. United is a very different story. They're likely to line up in a 4-2-3-1. Crucially, they're going to come here to disrupt, not necessarily dominate. I see them... Lehmann's in goal. I've almost forgotten his name. Is Lehmann's? Lehmann's in goal. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. I've totally forgotten. I should have written this down. Dalot, Maguire, Martinez and Shaw, which is not a bad sounding back four. Casemiro in his final season at Manchester United, and Mainu, who's back from the wilderness. Bruno Fernandes in that kind of free player role, which suits him so much better. Ahmad and Dorgu wide, and Buemo leading the line. That's obviously, I'm not 100% sure about any of these. That's how I'd see it. Can they survive Arsenal's control and hurt us in sort of key moments? They're going to sit deeper than most people expect, I would imagine. They're going to look for Fernandes or Fernandes between the lines, and they'll try and turn this into a transitional match. Because it's an away game and because, I think there is a healthy amount of respect for Arsenal from most teams we play, unless it's in Europe. Now, the key tactical battles, I think, are going to be the midfield versus a double pivot. This is where I think we're going to win or lose the game. Rice and Zubimendi they don't just win duels, they decide where the game is played. If they can pin Casemiro and Mainu back, Arsenal can pin United's half. If United can disrupt that rhythm early, suddenly the crowd will feel it. I think the crowd hopefully won't be too edgy. There's nothing to be edgy about. But Saka versus Shaw is a huge duel. You'd have to back Saka. What's changed this season is that Arsenal don't rely on just Saka anymore. Trossard drifting inside's had a great season. Timber underlapping, if he can, stretching teams. United can't just double up and hope, basically. But the battle's going to come around set pieces as well. We are one of the most dangerous set-piece teams in the league. Meanwhile, United look a little unsure when balls are delivered with purpose. So one corner, 1 second ball, one moment. The game at Old Trafford was incredibly close and settled in that way. So how do I see it? I think United are going to have moments. I think they always do. But Arsenal right now are calmer, better structured and far more comfortable in tight games. I don't think this is a rout. I don't think it's going to be pure chaos. I think it's going to be control. I need us to be professional, disciplined, and take another step towards something that's starting to feel very real. For me, I have already come out and said I'm sure we're going to win the Premier League, not just because we're playing with calmness and control and a conviction I haven't seen before, but also because, look, let's face it, Man City may well have won today against Wolverhampton Wanderers, but they did it with Haaland on the bench, which I know Pep only did to screw up my Premier League, fantasy Premier League team. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the same way. In fact, he came on was even more annoying. But I want to know your score prediction. Mine is Arsenal 2, Manchester United 0, although I could easily see it being 2-0 or 1-0. 2-1 or 1-0. And more importantly, I want you to tell me where you think this game is going to be won or lost, and if you've if you're enjoying the calmer look ahead. I'd also want to say, I know there's a few of you, and so thank you so much for being here with me now. I'm going to go through some of the comments, and then obviously I want to discussion points around it. But I do also want to come back to the Ben White and Jurian Timber and some of the other players. I also want to hear from you if you think that we should expect some surprises. So, first of all, Hawkwind is here. Fantastic to see you with your geezer